19.
19. Oh, this is continuing to be sponsored by winter blankets.
Winter blankets, right? How's the weather?
The weather, we're up to 15.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know, I thought it was going to go down, but no, apparently it's climbing up. 5 was last night. So
I
was wrong. So on the previous podcast correction. See, it's also important to admit whenever you're wrong.
Important to give corrections and updates?
Corrections to updates.
Follow up?
Follow up to, I don't know, do we need any follow-ups? Still suck ass.
Speak for yourself. I'm awesome.
No, it's human experience is very humbling. To be human is a very humbling experience.
Yeah, right. Or at least it should be.
Well, no, but I don't know for anybody else. For me, the amount of humbleness that I experience about my idiocy on a daily basis.
I experience more humbleness than you do. I'm the most humble there is.
I don't mean humble in a pretentious way. I mean
I'm teasing.
I just look at myself and I just, internally my higher self just shakes their head and goes, there you go again.
You can do better than that.
It's not even that you can do better. It's like, there you go again.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
And then that, that flows into, I don't know. I guess just like on the previous episode we mentioned, it is important for that not to flow into self
identity.
Or into like self-deprecation, right? To where you realize that is just human experience. That is life.
Yeah.
If you don't take over the topic, I will obviously hijack once again the topic that we have been trying to start for multiple weeks now.
Where do you want to go with this?
Do you want to go to the topic that we thought we were going to talk about?
Yeah, no? Yeah. I'm excited about it.
The Mount Shasta.
Mount Shasta. There it is. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
I've forgotten all my facts about it now.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. What is it? The second tallest volcano in
United States?
United States? There'll be an asterisk here if I'm incorrect, and it's not. It is a tall mountain by any means. You can't miss it. Driving north on something or other from Sacramento.
Like it's in California.
It's in California, Northern California.
Northern California.
North of Sacramento.
Like about an hour and a half away from the coast, from the Pacific coast. But like take LA and San Francisco and just head up past the Sacramento.
Yep.
And you will head through Mount Shasta City.
Yeah.
And then beyond Mount Shasta, then you cross over into Oregon and then
eventually you hit
into Portland. Yeah.
It's about halfway between Portland and Sacramento. Maybe a little closer to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm. And it's the starting point of the Sacramento River.
Yeah, the headwaters of the Sacramento River are right there at, there's a park. A little park in...
I think it's called the Headwaters
yeah.
Park, whatever it's called.
In Mount Shasta City. Mount Shasta City is this tiny little town. There's a whole lot of tiny little towns dotting around the mountain, but we happen to stay in Mount Shasta City. Fun fact. So the water coming out, the headwaters are, here's a picture. The headwaters are, it's just these rocks that have water gushing out of them. And this water was what fell as snow 50 years ago on the mountain. So it's taken 50 years for it to melt, filter on down through the mountain, and work its way out of this little rocky enclave. It's wild. And this water is incredibly clean and pure. And everybody just goes there to fill up water bottles and drink it. And there's a little sign, I'm sure the FDA requires, saying, this water is not tested, drink at your own risk or whatever. But everybody's drinking it. And we drank a lot of it. And it is the tastiest water. It's magical.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, so maybe we should preface by saying that Mount Shasta is believed to be magical.
Yes.
And there different people
we should probably start there.
Different people interpreted that magic in different ways.
Yes.
And so our first familiarity with it was probably 10 years ago. We run a website. It's called deltabird.net.
Yeah.
Which is completely outdated. And so please do not judge the design of it because we have not updated it in at least a decade.
If not more.
But at the time, we bought the domain name for our cat because his name was Dotobird. .com was not available, so we bought a .net. And that was 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, our website
it was a cat website.
Was a cat website. Like we pretended like his name was Fredo. Fredo was a missing, like a discovered dodo bird, and then they had this whole story about it. Obviously, we did not have children, and we had a lot of time on our hands.
Yes,
and we run a web design agency, so designing a website for our cat back 20 years ago was not a big deal.
Yeah,
and so we custom designed the site.
Yeah, pictures of the cat flying and stuff. And
yeah. So we just made up this huge story about our cat. Maybe it was 23 years ago. Yeah. Anyway, and so we had it that way for the longest time. And then we realized it was ranking on Google at the top of the list.
For dodo birds.
For dodo birds.
The bird.
Yeah, the dodo bird. And then there's a point of me that realized we were doing disservice to all the middle school kids. They were researching extinct species because somebody submitted some kind of contact form going something about a cat not being a dodo bird, or there was some confusion from a middle school student about this.
Yep.
And so at that time, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should just convert the site to a real dodo bird site.
Have some information about real dodo birds.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as a public service announcement, because the site was already ranking so well, we designed the website to be about dodo birds. There's a page that's talking about their history, when they went extinct. I don't remember what else.
But the best part is that there's a what would you do to save the dodo birds section where anybody, and it tends to be elementary, middle school students.
Middle school. Yeah, middle school. They're all middle schooler.
Oh, anyway, but at some point during the year, it's dodo bird season.
Right now it's starting. We're getting a lot more context.
And people will go research dodo birds in school, and they'll land on our site. And then there's what would you do to save the dodo bird? Type in your name, type in your school, all optional, and then type in what would you do? And people would give crazy suggestions. Some these are middle school kids because you can imagine
there's
the type of stuff that we see.
Yeah,
talking about selling them to KFC and whatnot. But
yeah, that was the last one. Was something about KFC.
Yeah, but there's some good suggestions.
Yeah.
Make some and breed them and put them in a protective thing, or there are some really good suggestions.
Yeah, and sometimes we get them from all over the world.
Yeah.
And 2 years, I think 2 years, we ran a contest so over the period of 1 month or 2 months, whoever submitted the best suggestion by our decision, that was not crazy, won a stuffed animal, which was a dodo bird.
Yeah.
And I think
we shipped him a dodo bird.
Yeah. And the second people that won was a school, but then I don't think they could technically receive, a present from a school. But we had it ready. Yeah. So it was. I thought it was cute.
Yep.
Yeah. We do this just out of
because we're crazy.
Because we're crazy and out of passion for dodo birds, I think. But yeah, kind of like a side note there.
But once we got a comment on the website. I don't remember it, but you do.
No, the gist of it was, so at the time, so this would be, we were already in this house, so this is 2012-ish. We get a comment submitted that implies, did it have anything to do with dodo birds or not?
I don't know if it had anything to do with dodo birds, or if it was just out there.
Okay.
This would have been really out there for me in 2012.
Yeah, so we moderate the comments and only post, non-harmful, non-offensive, harmful comments on the site. So the site is clean and kosher. And so through that moderation process, we end up reading everything that comes through for the most part, right? And you spam it out to where you don't get the spams anymore. But at the time, I think I was doing the moderating. And the comment that came through was basically out of, at the time, I thought completely crazy comment about Mount Shasta is a secret.
Telos?
Telos.
Telos is the name of a city.
City.
Underneath Mount Shasta.
Or within or around, or
I think
within. At the time, I thought within Mount Shasta.
Where these would be the Lemurians, which is like Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean, and Mu or Lemuria was in the Pacific Ocean. And after, there's the fall of Atlantis, there's the fall of, Mu or Lemuria. The Lemurians founded Telos, the secret city underneath Mount Shasta.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are very tall. They have light skin, blonde hair. They would have all this advanced technology to get to space and fly around and all this stuff. And we're just like, what are these crazy people talking about? And we go and we look it up, and sure enough, this is a thing. This is a widely believed story about Mount Shasta. And we're like, okay, that's crazy.
You said that's crazy, but I left it open in my mind. I'm like, I would not say no. How would I know that this is a no?
That said, my interest was piqued about Mount Shasta.
From like 11
point.
or 12 years ago. After I received that and we did a little bit of research, I'm like, this is just completely out of the blue. What the heck is happening here?
Yeah.
That was enough to pique my interest 12 years ago. Unbeknownst to self, we were going to go on some sort of crazy self-discovery journey many, many years later.
It's the summer of 23.
Yeah, this past summer.
Yeah.
No, I've been called to go there for a while. I knew that I was going to go there for a while, but I knew I needed to wait towards the right time. Like, just like Egypt and just like Peru. I knew that I would know when the right time is. So I had priced out and researched, and we have kind of looked around of how to get there. And I always came up with some sort of excuse. And I'm like, oh, it's so far away from LA. We're not going to go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a drive.
But there was always an excuse.
Yeah. I mean, really, the only way to get to it is to fly into Sacramento. The easiest way to get to it is to fly into Sacramento and then drive for 3 hours, which most people are just unwilling to do.
Wait, but we went there from LA.
Well, that's even further. But,
No,
I mean,
we did.
Yeah, well, we're crazy. I mean, most people are unwilling to fly in somewhere and then drive for 3 hours to go to a mountain. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, but the type of people are going to go to Mount Shasta willing to do anything to get there.
That said, the type of people who are called to Mount Shasta will do anything to get there. You're right.
And so our trip consisted of flying into LA. Of course, we love LA in small doses. We did the whole thing for the kids, the Disney, the Pacific Park, which is really the only thing we do in LA is those two things. Obviously vegetarian.
No, we had the Yogananda Center.
Oh, we had the Yogananda Center this time too, which was
interesting.
Is that a whole separate episode or not?
We can give it 5 minutes. You want the Yogananda founded the Self-Realization Fellowship back in
50s or 60s.
And it still exists today.
There's several branches of it.
Yeah, there's several branches, locations of it. We hit the one in Pacific Palisades, which was that the first one? No, the first one was on Mount Washington in LA, and I still don't know where that is, but this one, I mean, it's beautiful. It's this amazing nature preserve in the middle of. Well, this is up Route 1 from Santa Monica.
It's right off the coast, though.
Yeah, but it's right off the coast.
He has one right on the coast where you can see the ocean. We didn't go to that one. This one's inland a little bit, but less than 5 minutes away from the coast, I think, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it is beautiful, and the place itself, the location itself has amazing energy of that. Between Yogananda, isn't some of Gandhi's ashes there?
Yeah, I think some of Gandhi's ashes is there because they were friends.
Yeah.
I was reading the I'm not
Autobiography.
Autobiography of a Yogi, right?
Yeah.
Which is the Yogananda's book. And it's a thick book, which we brought this up because it's a big book. And I finished it on the plane flight to LA.
Okay.
Because I was having, at home it's harder to find time to read for extensive period of time, but on the plane it's kind of justifiable. So I finished it on the plane flight to LA, and then while we're in LA, I'm like, well, heck, why don't we go? And so, again, this is another one of those stories. The world, the spiritual world, or your higher self world would just guide you and will make things happen for you. So we picked a location where we're
driving by that way anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna drive by. We saw it. I'm like, oh, okay, why not? I think we stopped by to get breakfast to begin with.
Then we stopped by to get the cookies.
Well, no, we got the breakfast and then we decided to get desserts, and desserts right by it. And then we're just gonna drive by, and there's this gate.
It's like a meditation garden, and I just assumed the meditation garden would be open to just walk in and meditate or whatever.
Yeah.
But we pull up and there's a gate, and they eventually open the gate and we pull in, and the guard's like, do you have a scheduled appointment? And we're like, no, we just stopped by. And he's like, yeah, you really need a scheduled appointment in order to do this. But it's your lucky day. Someone just canceled. Come on in.
Of course. I was thinking, do they say that to everybody?
I don't know. If someone's feeling lucky, you can go test it.
That's true. Yeah.
Either way, we felt lucky. So
we did feel lucky.
We got in, and it's free to tour it.
Yeah, just to walk around.
It's
beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful.
The gardens are maintained around this artificial lake, and they're just the most beautiful gardens. It's not a big place at all.
No, I mean you can walk around in 10 minutes.
If you spend it would be amazing to meditate there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we can have a whole other episode on the autobiography of a yogi, and then our interpretations of it into today. But we hit that, and then we start driving up north in order to basically hit Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
Driving through Sacramento, we just drove through Sacramento.
Yeah. Well, we drove through the wherever that observatory is.
Oh yeah, that's right. We went to the observatory
outside of San Francisco. I don't remember the name of it.
Starts with a C. No, it's not Griffith, because that's the one in
that's
LA.
One in LA.
Yeah, this starts with a C. Like we walked the redwoods there, and then by accident there's an observatory,
space observatory
in the middle of the woods.
Little like space center.
Yeah, but it was cool for the kids because the kids enjoyed it, and we just got to stay inside. It overlooked San Francisco, which we purposely avoided San Francisco.
Yep.
And then from there we drove through Sacramento, right? Or I don't even remember if we drove through Sacramento.
We drove through Livermore.
Oh my gosh! Do we have enough time for this?
I mean, when else would we talk about it?
Okay, so maybe this is a two-parter.
I can stick the other card in and keep going if we need to.
It's okay, it's just an umbrella. So we stop. What's the city called?
Livermore.
Oh yeah, and so as we're driving, we wing it. We don't have itineraries.
Yeah.
Like usually we just, especially if it's in the United States, it's very easy just to book
we're heading
hotel
north. So okay, I feel like I've got 2 more hours of driving in me. What's a hotel 1.5 to 2.5 hours up?
Yeah, and so we're driving. So we finished with Oakland, Redwoods, and the observatory, and then we're basically heading up north. And, so we spend most of the day, I guess, in Oakland. And so then we're trying to decide where to stay. And we are fans of home to suites. I don't know. That is kind of like, it seems to be our thing.
Yep.
Their breakfast is good and we're cheap. We don't want to pay for breakfast for 4 people. And the rooms are always clean.
Yep. And they're big.
Right? So like we are
there's a refrigerator.
Yeah, there's a refrigerator if we need one. I don't know. We're just kind of like,
not sponsored, but
hey,
home to
if you want to. Yeah, we're stayed at many home tos.
Many.
And so I'm pricing out a home to in Livermore, and whatever the next city up. And I'm just being drawn to like Livermore. Like LA, it's like, oh yeah, I can make it to the next one. And I'm like, yeah,
But this one, I think this one was a little bit cheaper.
it was a little bit cheaper. And then I was getting tired. But realistically, I'm being pulled to go to this one.
And you don't know what's in Livermore.
No, I have no. I have no clue what the Livermore's about. In fact, I still have a hard time pronouncing the city. And like LA keeps on asking me what the name of the city, and I'm like, I have no idea. Apparently, it's very confusing. But anyway, we are in Home 2 Suites in Livermore by accident because no plans, just by complete accident. But then see, now we have to go back to why this is important when we flew over to Europe.
Was it to Egypt?
Yes, it was to Egypt. So anyway.
Oh.
So wait, I don't know what to do now. Okay.
All right, let's go back. All right. Let's do it in chronological order because that makes most sense.
Okay, sure.
Pause on everything that we just said.
Well, no, I mean leave us the fact that we are in Lawrence.
We'll come right back to Livermore. We were going to Egypt last summer, which is a hot time to visit Egypt.
Which we still need.
Or is it Peru?
No, it was Egypt. What was it? What was the pit stop? Why did we go to Egypt? Wait, where did we stop? Because they were going there.
It was the flight was delayed.
The flight was delayed, but I don't remember if it was to Egypt or not, or we were just going to Austria. Is that where
it was? Austria. That's where it was.
Which would have been spring of that same year, spring of 23.
Yeah,
we're going to Austria and Prague.
Yeah,
we were flying into Austria, Vienna, and then
I don't remember where we hopped through. Oh, it was direct from wherever.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay, so we're in Atlanta.
We're in Atlanta,
and our flight to Vienna is a little delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just sitting in terminal gate 2A or whatever.
Yeah, there was some sort of sexy Spanx shop across from us. Wherever this terminal is, there's
I don't remember that.
Well, it's not sexy. Spanx, I guess, not sexy, but there's a Spanx shop. Spanx is trying to sex themselves up, but I don't think it's working. Because the only reason you wear Spanx is to suck shit in, and the shit that you're sucking in is not really sexy. But they're trying to adjust that.
All right, I missed all that.
Well, no. So this is midnight in Atlanta, and we're tired, we're sleepy, and the kids, we are old, and so we go to bed at 9:00, if not 8. And this is midnight, so we're still awake at the airport waiting for our late flight.
Nobody wants to be at an airport any longer than you have to be.
Yeah, and so we're sitting there, and I'm trying to sleep, but the people to the right of us, they will never hear this, so this is okay, are the epitome of like corporate
schlups.
Sure, except the conversations that they're carrying is somewhat interesting, and so I cannot help it but eavesdrop, which tells you what kind of human being I am. If the conversation is interesting enough, I will listen.
And they're all wearing. Should we name the company?
Oh, I should.
Huh?
I guess.
General Atomics, who I had never heard of.
No, and at the time, when I'm listening to them talk, the conversation that is spiking my interest has to do with things related to my interest, but not necessarily anything that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
They're talking about
landing unmanned aircraft and
testing. They're talking about landing unmanned aircraft, testing aircraft carriers, testing some sort of, I don't know. I mean, obviously, this is all very advanced terminology, but it's spiking my interest. And anytime something spikes my interest to where I go, why in the heck is this spiking my interest? I know I'm in the right space at the right time, and this is something that I meant to look into.
Yeah. And there was like 4 or 5 of them, and they were one short.
Too short. The manager and like the other manager.
Yeah, whose flight had been delayed, but this flight had been delayed, and so like, oh, this is great because now Bill and Ted will be able to make this flight or whatever. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
This is an excellent adventure,
right? But like, General Atomics. I mean, that's a pretty cool name for a company.
I did not know the name of the company at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that did not came out until you and I later, at some days later, started discussing. I'm like, did you hear those dudes' conversation? You're like, yes. And so then both of us realized, oh, we both were eavesdropping and trying to.
It was some like advanced stuff, and they're just it's just another Tuesday to them. This is what they talk about all day. But we're like, well, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's like some sort of theoretical physics.
There's all kinds of stuff going on there.
Quantum stuff,
AI, aeronautics. It's apparently they do a lot there.
Yeah. And so but I have no clue. I did not even get the name of the company. They were talking about the project. So they're flying there for some project, and it has something to do with aircraft carrier. It has something to do with measurements and unmanned whatever. And then they were talking about wind velocity and then whether or not they will be able to land depending on the wind situation. It was just crazy. But of course, I'm trying to sleep because I'm cranky. But at the same time, the conversation is way too spiking. And so then you and I spent time afterwards discussing like, what the heck was that about? And we basically needed to be previewed to that information somehow. And then you picked up the name of the company. And of course, I was clueless.
They were all wearing General Atomics shirts.
I was trying to sleep, but then my ears kept on, radiating eavesdropping.
Yeah.
And so, and then we came home and we looked up what the heck General Atomics do.
They do everything.
They do everything that normal people would classify as like crazy. Like
it's like, oh, here's the energy weapon division, and here's the whatever, and it's like, oh, what? Okay.
Yeah. So all the crazy science, quantum.
No, wait. I don't know what they do. We looked up what the next place does.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
they do a lot.
They do a lot.
I don't remember if they do energy weapons.
Something else
does energy weapons. We'll talk about that later.
Oh yes, there's the energy weapons thing. Okay, energy
weapons.
And so there's that. So quantum dynamics. Energy.
General Atomics.
General Atomics.
There was a show back in the day called Fringe.
And the General Atomics was basically willing to
General Dynamics. Was it General Dynamics? Was the name of the company in Fringe?
In Scottsdale, there's a company called General Dynamics, isn't there? I don't know.
Yeah, in Fringe, this General Dynamics makes these all kinds of.
It was fringe science.
Oh yeah, fringe science.
And then it sounds like this company is also fringe science.
Like, well, General Dynamics was taken. What can we do to make it sound even more awesome? General Atomics. Anywho.
And so we're getting off topic, but I guess this is the new topic, it turns out. And so, we kind of left that behind. That was April of 23.
Yep.
And here we are in June of 23 at the Home 2 Suites.
June or July? I don't remember.
Summer solstice.
Of course it
is. Wait, right? Or maybe not.
Wait, I thought we went somewhere over the summer first. Scotland.
Oh, okay. Okay, so no, this is July then.
July of 23.
July of 23.
And here we are at Home 2 Suites. We're going to go get breakfast.
Home 2 Suites breakfast.
2 Suites breakfast.
Sales point.
Reliably.
Well, we do not want to sell too many people on it because then we won't be able to get good rates. So.
Reliably average.
Average. Sure.
You're not writing home about your Home 2 Suites breakfast. At the same time, you're not writing home about how bad it is either. So it's reliably average.
But it's free.
It's
included into the cost of the thing, which is also pretty cheap.
Because it'd be like 50, 60, $70 to go out and get breakfast. When we travel,
we usually only have one meal because of Home 2 Suites being a big meal.
Anywho, so we get up and we make it down for it was me and Annabelle first, and you came later.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a dude sitting there talking to some other dude.
To begin with, he was alone for a long time.
Was he alone?
He was alone. He was playing some very advanced game on his phone. I was thinking, that looks really complicated for like 8 a.m. breakfast. I'm like,
okay.
That's what I thought about him.
But I noticed.
But he looked very smart. And I'm like, maybe that's what smart people do is they play very advanced phone games.
Okay, then he was alone.
8 o'clock in the morning.
later on, the other guy that the other two people came down, and they're all turns out with General Atomics, and they have their General Atomics shirt, and they have the floor plan of Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory spread out on the table, like unrolled a blueprint type thing, and they're talking about what's over here and what's over there and what's over there. And I noticed that because I've at least heard of Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, which does all kinds of advanced stuff.
Yeah, also French quantum stuff.
Right. I mean, I think they do literal rocket science, and I don't know what.
No, and so this guy is saying that they ended up staying up most of the night trying to figure something out that they're supposed to do at the Lawrence Livermore laboratory. And then they're hoping that, that this is good enough or whatever. Here, probably going to make them sound like shit. Here we are.
Yeah. They said that if they just faked it, nobody would know the difference. No, I'm just joking.
And they're talking about something with. It had to do with what CERN has.
Oh, a cyclotron?
Yeah, it had to do with something with some kind of energy, something, right? Again, fringe energy, not energy. And so here we are sitting dumbfounded that here we are within the same year, months apart.
Twice we've run into different teams from General Atomics who are discussing out in the open what I'm sure.
I don't think it's secret information.
Well, it's probably NDA'd at least, I would imagine.
Oh, what? You don't want to make them suck.
Okay.
They are discussing, and I'm in shock.
Don't worry, I have no idea what they were talking about, and even if I did, I wouldn't understand it.
Yeah, but the coincidence is not a coincidence,
right?
Right, and so we are just like dumbfounded about this experience, and we have no clue what this was, and I still don't know what it is. Oh no, except and there's another puzzle piece. Then later, in my dream, I get stuff handed to me, and I get handed a name of a woman who I then look up on Google or LinkedIn or whatever. And
she works for was it the DOD?
DOD or some research branch of DOD.
Of the military, and they're the ones who did the energy weapons.
And they do energy weapons, which I'm assuming is somehow linked to General Atomics. And so I have her name, which is like, right? Like, and so with me, it's like, what am I supposed to do with all of that?
Right.
So we still don't know. This is completely off topic from Mount Shasta, but this is the type of stuff that happens to us all the time. And then, of course, we're just kind of living our life, not knowing what to do with some of the stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So between the Dodo Bird website and the General Atomics and Advanced Weaponry and Lawrence Livermore, sooner or later we make it to Mount Shasta.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, well, that's as crazy as it's going to get. Therefore, we're just now relaxing in Mount Shasta. That's what I thought.
Well, we stopped to get a burger beforehand.
Yeah.
In whatever the town was right before Mount Shasta.
But it might as well be Mount Shasta.
It may as well be Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
And we meet some lady who's telling us about the headwaters, and
everyone's very friendly there.
Everyone's very friendly.
Yeah, they're very friendly.
I mean, everybody says this, and now that I've been there, I understand. There is something, if you go to Mount Shasta, you want to stay in Mount Shasta. I understand why they say people come just to visit, and then I'm just going to move here. And then they do. And that's how everybody in Mount Shasta gets there, is they're like, oh, I'm just going to visit. No, I'm going to move here. And at the time, I felt like that too.
Yes.
There's something.
It was almost impossible.
There's a pull to it.
Yeah, almost impossible not to go there.
And so she's talking about the headwaters, and she's giving us the story of everything, and that was neat. And then we go to the park because it's getting late. We drink from the headwaters, and we're exploring the park. And there's a guy in there playing a gong. And Tanya plays the gong. We have a gong, and she starts talking to him. And do you bring up cacao?
Yeah. No. He asks. I think he asks me like, "Oh, do you play the gong?" And I tell him that I do because I do cacao ceremonies, and whenever I do cacao ceremonies, I play both some bowls and I guess gong, and then I don't remember how it comes up because I never actually carried the gong to the. Maybe I did. I don't remember if I brought it there or not.
I think we brought it to a cacao ceremony before.
Yeah, and so we just kind of, cacao is a topic. We're drinking cacao every time we're having this podcast. We'll have to do an episode on cacao. I know I keep on saying that.
And he's like, oh, cacao. Me and my friend do cacao every morning. Why don't you come up? And we're camping up on Mount Shasta. Why don't you come up tomorrow morning and we'll have a little cacao ceremony? And we're like, because we had thought.
I wished for this.
I had thought, oh, Mount Shasta would be a great place to do a cacao ceremony.
Yeah.
But how? That's impractical. We have kids with us and everything.
Yeah. So when we came there, I thought, oh my gosh, here we are. We're going to Mount Shasta.
Very spiritual place.
Very spiritual. And I would love to have a cacao ceremony there. But then like my left brain went, well, okay, that's just not even an option, ... And so I just kind of released that idea. And as we get into the city, again, through magical alignment of the spiritual world, continuation with the general atomics, we meet this guy, he's into gongs, I'm into gongs.
He's into cacao.
We're into cacao. And then he was just very, very kind. Like everyone's really nice there. And he's just really kind. And he invites us over for a cacao ceremony because they're camping out on Mount Shasta. Most of the people who go to Mount Shasta tend to camp.
Yeah.
And then
the weather is just great weather.
Yeah, it's amazing weather. And we are,
at least in the summer,
kind of lightweights on camping. And so we were just staying at an Airbnb there.
Not a home to suites.
Not a home to suites. Yeah, I don't think they have a home to suites there. Maybe like further out. Wait, where's it? Reading?
But that's an hour away.
Yeah, Reading is the closest city, and I think there's a lot of hotels there. But Mount Shasta itself has the limited number of hotels. Yeah, and so through this, synchronicity again, the spirit world lines everything up. We now have a scheduled cacao ceremony.
Yeah,
and so we go up there, and then
here I have my one of my favorite mugs and everything, but there. We have the styrofoam cup from the...
It wasn't styrofoam. It was paper.
Okay, paper,
yeah.
Like, hotel coffee mug, hotel coffee disposable thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have, because we're just staying in someone's Airbnb apartment. But that's fine. We get up there.
And so we just have amazing ceremony with two amazing people that I still think of all the time.
Yeah. Which
I never text, but I think, like, I thought of myself, why don't I text people that I think about all the time? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it just kind of like feels weird. I don't know if people do that or not. If you think of somebody and you reach out.
I think they do.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't know why. But yeah, so the mountain is known. A lot of people, and I don't know if this is this a religious thing or not, Saint Germain?
I don't think he's a saint in the Catholic saint sense.
Okay, so
I think he's like Comte de Saint Germain. That's my attempt at a French accent. So I think he's like it was like a count of. I don't know if Saint Germain is a area in France or what, but Saint Germain. Here's a picture and link in the show notes. He is this guy who shows up throughout history, spanning hundreds of years. He was allegedly at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He's in, medieval
he's in Egypt,
medieval France. He's, and this guy shows up, and what's the real story? I don't know, but legend says that him or his spirit or whatever is at Mount Shasta, and people who seekers will interact with him. They'll have a message from him. They'll see him. They'll something with Saint Germain.
Wasn't there a guy there? There's remember when we were driving out of Mount Shasta, we drove by the house, and it was the guy who channeled Saint Germain book of messages. It's called like something I or I am or
Yeah. So okay. So there's a lot of legends around Mount Shasta. I'm going to get them all confused. One of them is um this guy who back in the day, maybe 1800s, maybe 1900s, I don't know, claims to have met Saint Germain on the mountain, and he basically created this church. I'm going to call it a church, but like semi-religious spiritual organization located in there. And is it the I Am Fellowship or I Am Brotherhood?
I am something. Yeah.
And
his like he's dead now, but I think like his descendants or whatever, the people are still running.
Yeah.
It might have lost the original intent, but the information that was channeled from Saint Germain to this guy is still available.
Yeah. And that might be the first documentation of Saint Germain on the mountain. But to this day, people say he's him or his spirit is there. And in photographs, we'll put up the photograph here. He will appear as this like purplish glow or light in photographs taken on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, we end up, after the cacao ceremony, which was like 4 or 6 hours on the mountain, we go and we have dinner and we get the kids and, and they had invited us back for a bonfire in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go back. And this is just an iPhone picture of the bonfire. And there is some purple glow that I can't explain through. It's not just a lens flare. It's not.
Yeah, no.
It's like.
Well, there's in the picture, and but you probably shouldn't show the picture just because there, the boys' pictures are in there.
We could blur faces out if I needed to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the boys will. I don't know. Yeah, maybe like block just them whole out. And so there's the glow of the fire to the side, and the fire has this really interesting glow. Yeah, but you can almost confuse the fire for what it is.
We've taken pictures of fire before, and none of them have looked like this.
Yeah, and then to the left of the fire on this photo, I don't know if you blur out the boys, if the purple will come through. So I don't know if we'll put this picture or not. There's very obvious, almost like a line.
Yeah.
Humanoid shaped line.
Yeah.
Of this purple light.
There's a documentary called Call of the Mountain, maybe?
On Gaia or not?
I think we saw it on Gaia.
Okay.
I think it won like a bunch of awards too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this guy who was a successful musician who Paul something.
I don't know. Yeah.
And he originally started the band Muse, which then sold its name to what is the group now called Muse, who I'm a fan of, but I didn't know any of this. He now lives in Mount Shasta and does spiritual tours up and down Mount Shasta.
We saw him during the cacao ceremony.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Paul of Venus is how he goes now, and his Instagram's in the show notes. But all of his pictures, he posts all these pictures that have these purple Saint Germain glows.
Yeah. And so he does meditations and like spiritual walks on Mount Shasta. And then the guy that we met at the park, who then invited us for the cacao ceremony, so basically it seems like, I could be wrong, but the mountain from Mount Shasta city has one way you get up to it, and then a lot of people park off of that road.
Yeah, there's all kinds of little like recreational areas off where you would do camping or hiking or whatnot.
Yeah. And so he was just staying right there off of one of the sides. And then when we got there, he walked us to the area, where we could set up, like a little...
Yeah, 10-15 minute walk out.
A little fire. I don't remember, did we have a fire?
Yeah.
We didn't have a fire. We just warmed up the...
He had a fire in as much as that it warmed up the cacao.
You warmed up the water for the cacao. Yeah, and then so he took us by this rock.
Like a little rock outcropping. Why would it be there. I don't know.
Special rock outcropping. And then
We thought about stopping there, but it was like too intense.
yeah, he was asking me, he's like, well, since you're a guest, you pick where to sit. And I'm like, well, where it's energetically right for me does not mean that it's energetically right for everybody. And I have a lot of hard time making energetic decisions for other people. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Because I didn't want to make the wrong decision. But it was just too strong for me. The spot.
Me too.
When we got in front of the rock, it basically has this ginormous charge. And it was just too much. Like, I don't think if I could have stood there for maybe 5 minutes meditating and just kind of soaking in the energy.
Especially on cacao, it would have been.
Yeah, but on cacao, it would have been too much to sit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll have to make a decision because otherwise I don't think I'll be comfortable. And so
we went down a little bit more.
Just down a little bit more. And the rocks were to my back. And to your back too. But then it was to the side of the boys.
Yeah.
And we just sat by the rocks. And then after we finished the cacao ceremony with them, we started to walk back, and we walk around the rocks, and we saw the spa guy with his meditation group. And then later, I think he posted pictures online, and then indeed it was the people that we saw with him. So I think everybody spiritually
goes to about the same area.
Goes to the same area there. However, the rumor is, there's a lot of Native American legends that warn. Native American tribes believe that you should not go past the tree line on the mountain.
This mountain is at the intersection of like 3 or 4 different Native American tribes' lands. And they all have slightly different but overlapping legends about it. They say
the mountain people
about the mountain. The mountain is the center of the universe. The mountain is where all creation comes from. The mountain, the gods live in the mountain or above the mountain, on the mountain. This mountain has been sacred for thousands of years, and it's a weird mountain because it's I don't remember any of the numbers when it erupted. It's a volcano. I don't remember when it erupted, but it erupted in a interesting way.
It blew. Wait, no, that was Mount St.
Helens.
Helens that had the chunk come out of it.
Yeah, it's been sacred to the native peoples for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. So the pool, let's talk about the pool. Like, it's just impossible to leave.
Yeah, there's something about it that, you just want to be there and stay there.
And then so I realized
it feels like home.
It feels like home, right? And so the frequency of the mountain, if you're an energetically aware person, but obviously everybody who's staying in there doesn't even understand what this is, but is still drawn to it. In essence, our soul, right, has a frequency that is at the core of our being, right? So like, if you imagine, again, this goes back to multidimensionality. If you imagine yourself in a multidimensional space here in 3-dimensional, interpreting this reality, right? Like this chair or this cup, you are in the densest frequency possible. And then thus you feel the furthest away from your higher self or your soul or the connection to the divine, because the frequency is so dense, you're almost cut off through that veil away from your true potential or true being, or actually your true knowing, right? Like, we came here purposely not remembering of who we are and our connection to the divine and the essence of the whole, so we can have this very awesome experience and then, basically bitch about it all day. But on the mountain, that frequency band is basically opened, right? Meaning you're actually going in there, and instead of being in the densified space for whatever reason, let's say it's telos, let's say it's just the nature of how volcanic mountains work. It is on a ley line too.
The veil's thinner. I don't know.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of theories, but you are experiencing a lighter frequency of self, then thus causes you to forget this densification of your being, and actually has you remembering your true essence, which is this innate connection to the divine. And so that draw, right, that home is just you feeling yourself and you feeling your truth. And so, once you experience that, it is really, really difficult to, like, it's almost tear generating, like tear jerking experience, to where like, oh my gosh, I feel home. But in essence, is what is it? You're feeling yourself. You're feeling your innate connection to the wholeness of it, right? And so all the other dimensions and all the other beings within the other dimensional realms have that knowledge innately with them, so they never feel lost and separate. But then because we made a choice into this densified space, we feel separated and then thus lost. But the mountain makes you realize that connection.
Yeah.
And so when we first left, I was like, oh my God, this is like, it feels like literally leaving myself behind. But it's because the essence of you is just so apparent there that like nothing else really matters. And hence, if those who choose not to live there basically pilgrim there as often as possible.
No, I want to go back.
Yeah. So like the boys that we cacaoed with, they come there as often as they can. We're not going to identify them, so we'll keep them anonymous. But like
they
any
live
chance,
a couple hours away or something.
Yeah, a couple hours away. But they say any chance they have to where they can come there and camp for weeks at the time.
Right.
I mean, they're hardcore. Like, did you get scared? What'd you get scared of? And so that's almost like a home away from home for them. And they're like hardcore campers. Like I used to camp back when I was little, but I wasn't responsible for food and shelter or anything like that. But yeah, they just set up a tent and just wing it. Go to there's like a tiny little grocery store in the city, and then they get provisions and whatnot, whatever the cheapest, and then they make it work.
Yeah.
And they have dogs with them too, which I'm like, here you are, and you're responsible for this other party, and the dogs seem to be so happy, just running free. Yeah, and so they said to us that they just anytime they can come back there and camp, right? They just have this innate connection to this mountain. And then based on their experience, they did not elaborate on this, but they do seem to believe and then connect to the city of Telos.
Yeah.
So basically what Telos is, in my interpretation, right? So when I received that Dodo Bird website comment, I had no idea how to even interpret that. I kind of like literally interpret it in a 3-dimensional space, but basically Telos exists there in another dimension.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost it's a city within our densified space. Like they're just living simultaneously within that group or within that region. And there's a lot of stories of disappearings.
Yes.
A lot of people just like hiking and then taking a step off the path and then all of a sudden feeling themselves be elsewhere.
Yeah. And people who have, someone steps off the path and then they're lost. And then either never found or found some amount of time later.
Weeks later.
Without being able to explain where they went or why it's been so long.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they're just basically the whole mountain functions as higher dimensional opening to where you're able to, within that same space, go into different interpretations of reality.
Yeah. I think you were going to say that all the Native American traditions say, don't go above the tree line.
Yeah.
And, the trees go up, 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 and then they stop. That's just how high the trees grow. And, yeah, which is, because that's reserved for the gods or for the
sky people.
Sky people, quote, sky people.
Yeah. And then, and there's hundreds and hundreds of UFO sightings there. That's very
Yeah.
common there. That's not so people who live there just kind of know, and it's not a shock to them. And so all the things we say right now will be like, oh my God, wait, what there's this place in the United States that has all this stuff. But yeah, people who live there are like, yeah, they know that's normal. And so it's a very spiritual place.
There are all these stories and legends, and I want to make a video about this. Maybe I will. Around Mount Shasta. There was this, I'm not gonna remember any of the names, and I might get them confused, but there was this guy who he worked, I think, for a mining company, and they sent him out to Mount Shasta to go see if maybe there's gold in them hills. I don't know. So he's going around and he's looking, and he finds this cave. And he goes in the cave, and he sees like golden stuff that had been made, golden, I don't know, plates and shields and whatever. And I think he ended up either he met people or he saw human bones. I don't remember. And so he leaves, and he doesn't tell anybody about it because he's like, if I tell someone about it, they're just going to go raid it. So he doesn't tell anybody about it for 20 years.
I thought it was more. I thought you said it was more than that.
And then finally, he starts telling people about it. And he's like, all right, I'm going to get a posse together with a whole bunch of scientists and a whole bunch of archaeologists and a whole bunch of, miners. And we're going to go out there tomorrow morning. And we're going to...
Well, no, not tomorrow morning.
No,
we're going to go there.
We're going to go out there. And eventually, it's tomorrow morning. And he disappears, never to be seen again. This is documented. That's weird. There was the Saint Germain guy. There's the Telos legend. There's another one. I don't remember.
Well, Native American people, believe in the sky people. The mountain is for the sky people, and you don't go on the mountain.
But there was another story with a...
Well, there's disappearances. Just all kinds of disappearances. The place has the most disappearances in the United States, I think. Not related to human trafficking.
Yeah. Just people getting lost.
Or disappearing.
I mean, what people would say is people getting lost, but yeah.
Yeah, who was it? Was it the lady? Who was it that was telling us about the boy who disappeared, and then later he was like, "Yeah, I like this grandma more than the other grandma."
Yeah, right. He disappeared. He was hiking with
his family.
It
was like mom and him and somebody else.
Yeah.
He disappears.
They find him a week later.
A week or two later.
And then then later on he's with his mom, and his grandmother's there, and he's like, "Mom, I don't like this grandmother.
He said he liked his grandma more than the other grandma."
Oh yeah?
I thought so. Oh, you interpreted it the other way?
Maybe. I don't remember. But that's messed up.
Yeah, so basically wherever he was, cloaked themselves as grandma to make him feel comfortable wherever he was. And then after he came back, he didn't realize that the grandma that he was with was not the real grandma. And then he was too young and then confused about. Yeah, but not many people come back from disappearing. So it's
What's a little sad is that we went in the summer, and the snow had really receded up the mountain. And apparently, even 20 years ago, the mountain was snow covered year round.
Yeah.
40 years ago, certainly, just year round, there's just snow. Ski in the middle of the summer. And now, not so much.
I don't think you can even ski based on the amount of snow it has.
Maybe in the winter.
Oh, in the winter, yeah. Yeah, in the winter, I think it does get snow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because they have to close those roads off in the winter. But, yeah, I mean, that was a little sad that, all the pictures, it's all snow covered. And when we were there, I mean, there's snow at the summit, of course, but we had to hike up a good ways before we got to actually touch snow.
Well, there's this area where I think most of the people stop. At the tree line, actually. We went all the way up to the tree line. There's this marker, and we kind of stopped there. We almost didn't make it, but I think the spirits helped us out. And we got to the snow because we only brought one bottle of water.
We brought 3, but they went quick.
Oh, they went quick. Okay. And so, so after that, like on the way down, we just refilled our bottles with snow. and just drank that
Yeah.
snow. And the headwaters, I mean, maybe this is another thing we should emphasize is even if you don't believe on all this mountain stuff, most of the people swear by the water at the headwaters as being magical and sacred and healing.
Yeah.
Um,
I believe it. That water,
yes, the
that
water is
water,
magical.
it's
Yeah.
now you can't just bottle it and hold on to it because it is not filtered water. It's
No,
gonna
but we would
it's gonna
refill
get
it. We
yucky
would
in
go
a
there
couple
twice
days.
a day to
Yeah,
refill
twice a
it
day, refill all the bottles
and drink as much
just
as we can there.
Drink that.
Yeah. And so most of the people go to cleanse themselves. There's a lot of stories of people going there who were sick and then just basically being in that space or possibly even having the headwaters healing, all kinds of stuff, cancers and whatnot. So another very, very energetically charged, electrically charged place.
Mhm.
And then since I have come back, one time I had a vision of entities inside the headwater. They were not of human nature. Um, you know, and so like because the space is so open, the possibility for energy work there is very wide.
Yeah.
Right. So you can do energy work or healing or metaphysical interpretations or even quantum physics in a space where the laws of nature are already bendable. And so I'm not surprised that Lawrence Livermore is not that far from that area. Especially in California where all the ley intersections are.
Yeah.
Because you almost need to be in a specific place in order to draw or reach fringe. I would say
Yeah.
fringe
I
understandings.
mean, is it giant rock, giant boulder? What's it called?
I think it's Giant Rock.
Giant rock. It's a big rock.
In California.
It's really big. Yeah, rock in California. What was it? Legend said that this rock had
Native
been
American legend too.
Yeah, Native American legend. This rock had been in one piece for forever, and they said that if it ever splits, that's when something bad was going to happen.
Yeah, nothing good.
Nothing good. And then it split not that long ago, right? 10
Yeah.
years ago, or 20 years ago.
Maybe 30 or 40. I don't know.
Either way, like within a lifetime, it split.
Yeah.
And it's a couple miles away from the Integratron. Is that what it's called? That dome building?
A couple of miles away from
Yeah.
that. But that's there because the ley line.
That's where I was going. That area is a ley line intersection.
Yeah, but that's also in California.
Yeah. A lot of stuff in California.
Yeah, and then we spent a night in Bishop. This was several years back. And whatever the energy there is, they just cram things down your head.
Yeah, I was
like if you are intuitive at all.
I was not a fan of Bishop.
Yeah, and I didn't like the energy of Bishop. Again, a lot of disappearings in that area.
Yeah. Those don't feel like natural disappearings, though.
Yeah,
those
that
feel
was
like
kind of a little weird.
Malicious disappearance.
But I was just laying there, and again, I was in that theta, pre-sleep state, and the information just started cramming down my head, and I'm like, my goodness, General Atomics style information about designs and structures and bending of steel and the formations of curves and like the right way to form that, and and I'm like, oh, I'm not a theoretical physicist. What the fuck is this? And then, so I write it on my crazy journal, but that's about it. And of course, the General Atomics people are all like, I have my crazy journal somewhere. Would you want to look at it?
Does this make sense to you?
Right?
That's the answer.
Right. So that part of me like feels helpless regarding this stuff, right? If I can channel all this information, it feels like maybe I have already said this on the podcast. I'm like, it's just wasted on me. It's completely wasted.
We should have asked him for a card.
Like, here's this crazy person at a home 2 suites seeing you, and you ask him like, hey, I have some stuff I want to run by you. Do you mind?
This may or may not make any sense, but doesn't make sense to
me. Maybe I should do that because currently I have no idea why General Atomics.
Next time we run into General Atomics in an airport, we'll get a card.
Or anywhere.
or anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. So spirits, if you want.
I'm sure we'll run into them again if we're supposed to.
Yeah, that's true.
Or their competitor. I don't know if you know who their competitor is.
The Department of Defense. You can just contact that lady, whoever's name came to me. But like all the stuff that they were doing seemed like this is like this secret.
A lot of it was warfare related, and it's like that's not
like
really
weapons development.
a lot of weapons, a lot of AI for that reason.
AI, and then a lot of water technology too.
There was a lot of water.
A lot of solar technology.
Oh, it was they were with the Navy. That's what it was. They
were
with the Navy, so that water makes sense.
Yeah, but also like sources of electricity or sources of energy outside of normal, whatever. Anyway, it was just crazy. But her description of her job and then what her department does was not that much different than General Atomics or Lawrence Livermore.
Yeah. It's all advanced stuff.
Yeah, that I don't understand. But yet I have things that, it spikes my interest because things come into my mind that are scientific-ish to an extent.
Yeah.
And then, like Tesla and Einstein. I'm not trying to compare myself to Tesla and Einstein.
Yeah, but I think everybody, that's where it, it's like at one point, it's like, are any of our thoughts our own thoughts, or is it just stuff being downloaded?
Yeah, I guess it depends.
I don't know.
If you're walking around hating Bobby for stealing your coffee cup, then it's probably your own thought. But if it's some advanced theoretical physics about bending,
yeah, I mean, a lot of people
bending gravity, then
a lot of people are like, I can't really take any credit for this thought or this invention or this idea. It just came to me.
No, I can't take credit for any of it.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't understand it. I would just hope it's not wasted on the world with me and my crazy book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like, it's a strange place to be because I feel a responsibility for something, right? Because like, I feel like if I'm receiving information that I'm responsible, but at the same time, I'm not doing anything with it other than running into General Atomics people. Maybe
next time we'll get a card.
Get a card. Maybe I'm like, hey, do you want to see my crazy book?
So we've run into General Atomics people 3 times now. I got something for you.
Or if someone's listening to this
Thanks.
podcast.
That helps us make the ultimate weapon.
And they know someone. No.
What?
Why would I be getting this if it's going to make some ultimate weapon? If somebody's listening and they know someone in General Atomics, please have them reach out.
Open.
What do you mean open?
Someone open to.
They're in General Atomics. Obviously, they're open, right? I mean, how else is all this technology being developed? Like all the people that we listen to on Gaia who are very scientific, right? Like even the guy that we listened to yesterday, right? He was more on the science end of things. He's like, oh yeah, I use medium for this and I use medium for that. And I'm like, well, how is that any different? I can do mediumship, but I just choose not to because it's slightly sad to me. But channeling is the same thing. It's just I choose to shut myself off from this area and open myself up to that area.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And then there was somebody else that we listened to. Oh, John Dee, the whole Shakespearean thing. He said that John Dee basically had a psychic that he received the downloads from, and then John Dee
from the angels.
Well, he said from the angels, yeah.
But they probably didn't have a better word for it back then.
Well, that's something that's sellable, right? Yeah. And then John Dee, did his encryptions and derived all these amazing scientific knowledge for the Queen Elizabeth because he was her, I guess, like, not alchemist. What would he be called? A scientist or advisor? Yeah. He was her advisor.
Yeah, but he was an alchemist.
An alchemist or polymath possibly too.
Yeah.
And then basically he's rumored to be the pseudonym of Shakespeare, one of the pseudonyms. Right, pseudonyms? Or he's actually Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And then invented Shakespeare persona to hide.
Well, him and Edward de Vere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was like Edward de Vere's friend / tutor / confidant.
Yeah, something. Yeah. But all under Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, I guess we touched on the previous episode. But yeah, so yeah, Mount Shasta, worth exploring.
5 stars.
5 stars. if I would go there with an open mind
Absolutely.
and not expecting things.
Yeah, that's I think that's trick to going anywhere. Is don't expect anything, but be open to anything.
And then maybe realize that my explanation behind that also will give you perspective of what that pool is. That pool is just you feeling home. You don't have to move there. You don't have to abandon your life, in rural Kentucky and move out there. But realize that it gives you the taste of your own self while you're there.
Yep.
And so why the people are drawn there and can't leave is because it is hard to if you touch yourself, it is impossible to then almost feel like you're abandoning your essence, right?
Yeah.
But that is the essence of us.
Yeah.
Or the essence of us is that. It's that pure love and consciousness, which is what that whole mountain is vibrating. And then you feel yourself at your core.
Yeah.
And nothing else actually matters. Like, that's the thing, is like you realize all these little pedantic things about this world are irrelevant. And then once you leave that space, like I quite literally felt after that veil, we passed that veil. And then, by writing your way out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're back to real world now. And it was so sad. It was like the next 2 or 3 days was just so sad.
Yeah. You can easily fall into a depression.
After that.
It's like,
yeah.
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 Almost homesick.
Yeah. And then so I would recommend for everyone to try it.
Yep.
But maybe with cognitive understanding what it does, but still open mind of allowing you to receive something there, because they will give you a gift when you get there.
Yep.
If that's meant for you. So.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.